Hi, my name is Star. Today I'm going to talk to you about different herbs, crystals, tools, spell ingredients, all the essential things that I think a beginner witch should have or look into getting. So firstly, I'm just going to talk about crystals. I find that they are one of the easiest things to explain, and there aren't too many that I think you need to begin with. The first one is selenite. I have this example here, that's a bowl. I do also have a rather battered selenite wand and some other forms of selenite as well. That's just one for cleansing your space and your own energy. It's one that you can use to also cleanse your other crystals. The next one is clear quartz. I find that this is kind of a universal crystal, and it's very easy to replace other crystals with this crystal. It's a very amplifying crystal, so it's very much used to amplify energy, amplify your intention. I find it's probably one of the best crystals you can get as a beginner. So the next one we have is rose quartz. So again, another great one for beginners. This is more of a kind of emotional stone, so you can use it for working on yourself, for healing your emotions. It's also well known for love, so that can be not just relationship love, but for self-love, friendship, all types of love. The next crystal that I would recommend is amethyst. So this is great for your kind of third eye, but also just for anything to do with meditation, psychic ability, divination. If that's something that you're interested in, I would highly recommend amethyst. Again, just a really great stone for beginners. The last one that I would recommend for beginners is tiger's eye. So tiger's eye is a kind of crystal that helps with willpower and courage, mental strength, determination. I really like this crystal. It's one of my favorites, and I like all of these crystals that I've mentioned because they are all very different. They are some of the most common crystals you'll see and hear about, and that is for a reason. They are incredibly helpful and you can use them in pretty much any spell. They're great for carrying around with you, just make sure that you do remember to cleanse and charge them. But I find that they together are almost like a universal bunch of crystals. So the next thing away from crystals that I would recommend is something to cleanse your space with. This can be lots of different things, and you only really need one thing to begin with. So what I have here, I've got some Palo Santo, I've also got some sage. Back here I have some tincture bells. I do also have a video, I believe it was my last video or maybe the one before, where I just explain a few different methods of cleansing, but all you really need is one method of cleansing and just choose a tool that best suits you. The reason for this is because when you are learning and you're a beginner, I think it is very important to be able to have this clear cleansed space, clear head space, and it really prepares you for whatever it is you're about to do, whether it be spell work, meditation. It's a way of being able to just mentally and physically prepare your space. When you're learning, you don't need other energies in the room with you. You just want a clear space, clear head, and just have a space where you feel fully prepared to start. The next thing is tea light candles. These are cheap and you can buy big bulk amounts of them. I think I have like 100 in there and they were probably less than £5. I say this just because as a beginner, it's quite a lot to try and build your collection. You can obviously, if you're doing a spell and you know exactly what you need, say you need to go find a long green candle, go and get your long green candle. But you can make kind of any spell with a white tea light candle. You can put your herbs all around here. Just be careful if you're using certain things. For example, cinnamon can be a bit sparky sometimes, but it's a great way of getting cheap candles and doing spells cheaply until you're able to build up your supply. You obviously can also get them in different colours and different scents. Poundland is great. Places like that, they're cheap, colourful, scented if you want it. you can get a good variety of these and they're normally pretty cheap. They also tend to burn fairly slowly for candles. I find that actually I can have them on for several hours and they're still lit. It just depends on the quality that you get. If you do want to get coloured candles instead of tea lights, I highly recommend these. Yes, they are small, but they come in packs of 12 and they have pretty much every colour. I use these for my spell kits, but they are very great for beginners. They burn for a fairly long time too, you know, not for hours and hours like a tea light might, but they're still useful and I find actually they're pretty good for spells. Another important thing is if you do have candles, make sure you've got candle holders or a plate or something that you can put them on that you don't mind getting wax all over, just so that you don't ruin your furniture, please. They're quite cheap, so you get 12 in a box, and they're normally around, if you go on Amazon, between £4 to £5 each per box, not candle. The next thing is a book of some kind that you can write in. Yours does not need to be quite as fancy as mine. This is one that I received as a gift a few years ago, but before then I had a notepad. This is important for being able to write down the things that you learn if that's something that helps you. Personally, I don't find that helpful, but what I do use it for is to write down my spells. I find it's nice to be able to have somewhere dedicated to write down all the things that you know will help you with your practice, especially when you're learning or you're a beginner. I used to just write it down on bits of paper and honestly they just got lost or scattered everywhere or ruined, quite frankly. It's nice just to have a dedicated space to put this kind of thing, and I like to write mine all fancy and make it look all pretty. That's just personal preference, but it means you have a space to do that as well if you want to. And then moving on to essential oils, I don't have loads and loads, but I find them most helpful for anointing my spell candles. I have other uses for them, for example tea tree or eucalyptus I might light when I'm feeling chesty or congested or things like that, because you can use them for both spell work and medicinal purposes. I personally normally just use them for my spell work. The two most common ones I use are my lavender and my rosemary. This goes for herbs as well. I find that lavender and rosemary, again, this is almost like a bloody universal herb because I use it so often. I must use this 9 out of 10 times in my spells. It's great for love, cleansing, like there are so many different purposes for this. It's great. I use it for everything, and not to mention it's an incredibly easy to find essential oil and herb. The same goes for the lavender. I use this quite a lot as well. It's great for just calmness, peace of mind, happiness. It can be used potentially for kind of helping your psychic abilities. I love it. Again, it has a lot of different meanings, but of all of them, these are the two that I would say absolutely go and get it. I've also brought out some tea tree and some cedarwood, and the reason I'm doing this is not to say that they are the two most important, but to say that I would have 1 or 2 other essential oils with a very different purpose. So even if you do only have a couple of oils, at least if they're all quite different, you will be able to use them in a lot of different spells. That's why I've brought out the cedarwood and the tea tree, just because they are different to the lavender and the rosemary. Tea tree I brought out specifically because I don't always just use it for spell purposes. I do often light it when I'm ill. And if you're not really into essential oils as much as I am, you can always use the actual herbs. I just have some rosemary and lavender to show you. I have a lot of herbs. All down this side of my bed is herbs because I'm trying to set up a witchy business, which will be on Etsy soon, and I will probably be able to link soon, but if you are interested, stick around. I'll be making little spell kits and little spell jars, and I'll be learning to use resin. So I'll be making little cute animals and moons and weird little witchy things. If that is something you're interested in, stick around because it will be coming to my Etsy soon. Another great thing to use is salt. This can be used for cleansing, for your candles. You can make salt water and use that as a cleansing item so that you don't have to buy an actual tool for it. You can use it in your actual spell work itself. I often put it on my candles. Sometimes I use Himalayan salt instead, depends what it's for. But salt is cheap, easy to get. You can get it in pretty much any supermarket. I like to buy things more in bulk just because I do use them, and she's creating a business so she might as well. But it's really incredibly easy to find, fairly cheap, and an easy one to use in spells. Here I have a lot of mojo bags. I find that when you buy a lot of witchy items, especially when you get them from things like Etsy or witchy sites, a lot of people give you things in mojo bags. Keep them. You will collect a lot more than you think you will over time. I don't think I've brought a single one of these. These have all just come from different witchy things I've brought over the years, all in different colours, sizes, perfect for different spell bags. So they are probably the most kind of important tools that I would say to buy. They're all things pretty much that you would have to buy and you couldn't make, but that doesn't mean they're things that you need. The biggest tool you have is yourself. And if you're going to invest in anything, invest in that. You also have the biggest toolkit right outside of your door. Nature is full of different tools for you to use and the things you need to make tools. For example, wands, they can be made out of sticks that you find. You can find loads of different herbs, flowers, mushrooms. Just be careful, make sure you know what you're picking up. Make sure you know what you're touching, because outside of the door, not everything is safe and some things are poisonous or they just hurt. But there are a lot of great things that you can use outside in your spell work, for teas, for cooking, for loads of different things. To be completely honest, when you do start witchcraft, you don't need any tools whatsoever. These are just my personal recommendations, but none of them are things that you need. You are the only thing you need to begin, and that's why it's important to work on yourself, whether it's through meditation, yoga, through visualizations, bloody exercise, whatever it is that makes you feel good and gets you in that space ready to work. Practice as well, just practicing spells, learning, taking the time to actually educate yourself. They're the things that are going to make you better at what you do. And you can do anything really. You can do spell work with a bit of paper and a pen if you really want to. You really do not need tools to do witchcraft. Just remember that it takes time to build up a collection of tools and you don't need them immediately. And don't get me wrong, I remember when I was beginning and I'd be online and everyone had all their pretty altars and I'd see all these wonderful tools, and then I'd go online and realise how expensive they were and go, okay, no, can't have that. The likelihood is these people have built their collections for years and years. I've been building mine since I was around 11, a couple years down the line and you might have a really nice collection. Tools are just a way of directing your energy through them, and they're not necessary to make things work. For example, with a wand, you can do the same thing with your hands if you really want to. People just find it easier through a wand because it allows them to kind of visualize it better. It doesn't mean you need one, but people find them useful. So I guess the main message is that these are really useful tools. Just take your time. You don't need them immediately. And it's better to take the time and over time actually have a collection of really nice, useful, good quality tools than going online and just buying loads and loads. If you do have any questions about anything, let me know in the comments, as well as letting me know if there's any kind of videos that you'd like me to make. I'm pretty much happy to make videos on anything, but thank you for watching and I will see you in the next video.